tip of the day, are your habits of thought moving you forward or holding you back? What are your habits of thought? Your habits of thought are how you think predominantly, how you think mostly. Your habits of thought could also be called your patterns of thought, your habitual thinking. And so, what are your habits of thoughts? And are they moving you forward or holding you back? In other words, when you encounter certain situations, what are you most likely to think? What is your predominant thought? What is your first thought? What is your predominant emotion? What is your first emotion? When something new comes into your life, what is your predominant emotion? What is your habitual thought? To be happy about what's new coming into your life, or to kind of be laid back and check out what just came new into your life to see if you like it before you really start to love it? What are your habits of thought? When you get in a new relationship, are your habits of thought to be, extremely happy and extremely open at first, and then when you get to know the person, then you find out all the real things about them. And then your habit of thought is, oh my God, I wish I knew this before I got involved with this person. Or when you get in a new relationship, are your habitual thoughts to just say, let me just lay back and see if I'm really going to like this before I really get into it. I'm not saying which thought pattern is right or wrong. I'm just saying what are your thought patterns? What are your habitual thoughts? And are they moving you forward or are they moving you backwards? When something happens in your life, when something, when loss comes in your life, when you lose a job or something to that effect, when something, traumatic happens in your life, what are your habitual thoughts? What are your habitual feelings, right? Do traumatic things trip you up and then you tend to stay there for a prolonged amount of time? Or do traumatic things fuel your fire and only drive your desire even more? What are your habitual thoughts? And you can answer that question as far as what your habitual thoughts are by asking yourself how you feel most of the time. Because how you feel is a direct reflection of the thoughts that you think. You think something and then you feel a certain way. If you try that, whatever you think about has the potential to alter your emotional state. And so, what are your habitual thoughts? What are your habitual feelings? And is it moving you forward? Are they moving you forward or are they holding you back? What are your habitual feelings? Do you feel good most of the time? Do you feel free and empowered most of the time? Right? You have to understand that it's not what's happening to us in life. It's how we respond to what's happening to us. Because what happens to us all. It's just what we think about, or in other words, how we respond to what happens to us that determines the overall authenticity of what it really is that happened to us. Nothing is good or bad universally. We are able to decide whether we want to look at something as negative or as positive. So what are your predominant thoughts? What are your habitual thoughts? What are your habitual emotions? Do you feel miserable most of the time, right? Do you feel confused most of the time? Do you feel lack in your life most of the time, right? Anything that you have or don't have, you think it's lack or abundance only because of your perspective, right? In America, it's said that we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, right? But the average person here would say, well, no, that's not true. But someone from another country would look at you and say, man, you guys are rich, right? It's all about perspective. It's all how you look at it. So what are your habitual thoughts and what are your habitual feelings, right? Do you feel negative most of the time? Do you feel aggravated most of the time? Do you feel happy and elated and joyful? Are you happy to wake up most of the time? Are you not happy to wake up most of the time? These are crucial questions to ask yourself because, again, how you feel is the first indication of your predominant thoughts. And if you feel bad most of the time, that only means that you're thinking thoughts that are not consistent. They're not consistent with who you really are. You're not thinking the right thing. You're thinking something that's causing you to feel that way. You're focusing on a subject in a way that you shouldn't be, that's causing you to feel the way that you feel. The beautiful thing is you can change your thoughts on any subject. You can see anything that you want to, however you want to see it. And so you have to understand that how you feel has a lot to do with what's coming to you and what you're bringing to you. And so if your predominant state is one of lack, is one of misery, is one of complaining, is one of not being happy, then you're only going to perpetuate not only that feeling, but you're going to perpetuate the conditions that support that feeling. You are the sole beneficiary of your own beliefs. And so I would say don't ever choose a belief that disempowers you. Don't ever choose a belief that separates you from who you truly are, from the beautiful being that you truly are. Don't ever choose a belief that separates you from what you truly are, right? You can do anything you want as long as you believe. Anything is possible to him who believes. So what are your predominant thoughts? What are your habitual thoughts? And are they moving you forward or are they moving you backwards? And if your habitual thoughts are moving you forward, that's beautiful for you. Absolutely. But if your predominant thoughts are holding you back, then the message to you in this tip of the day is how you feel is up to you. You can change how your predominant thoughts just by changing what you're focusing on, right? Just by changing what you're focusing on. You are in charge of how you feel. You are in charge of what you think. That's the only thing you have sole control over, is how you think and what you think. And how you think is the main influencer of how you feel. And how you feel is the main influencer of how you're going to see what's coming into your experience, be it good or bad. A wise man can take the worst of things and make the best out of them. But an ignorant man can take the best of things and make the worst of it, because his vision is too narrow. His perspective is too narrow. It isn't broad enough. So what are your habitual thoughts? And are they moving you forward or are they holding you back? And if your habitual thoughts are holding you back, then again, you can change that. You're not in control of anything outside of you. You must be willing to develop yourself internally in order to deal more effectively with the always changing and out of your control external conditions if you expect to be happy.